Um, we'll just go ahead and start. Wing it without my notes. So, well, first off, let's start off by welcoming everybody and apologizing for those technical issues. Hopefully, like I said, it gets better from here on out. My name is Susan Buchanan, and I am the Community Impact Manager here at the Community Foundation. And I'll be hosting the workshop today. And Sarah Burge, our Director of Community Impact and Donor Engagement, is also on the call, and she'll be doing the housekeeping things with keeping track of the waiting room and all those functions, and also looking at questions and making me aware of questions as we go along. Just to start off, I just ask everybody to make sure that you keep yourself on mute unless you are asking a question so we don't have any background noise. And I will try to stop several times during the presentation to take questions. Um, and I will definitely take questions at the end. So don't worry if I don't get to your question. Eventually it will be answered. So annually, the Grants Committee at the Community Foundation meets to determine the funding statement for responsive grants. This year's funding statement is an effort to encourage collaboration rather than competition between local nonprofit organizations. The responsive grants will target collaborative partnerships between no fewer than two nonprofits for initiatives that target the needs of our community. This year, the committee decided to keep the same funding statement that we had last year in 2025, as they continue to think that promoting collaboration is a key way to encourage creative, new, impactful programming that is addressing the critical needs in our community. In addition to remaining the same as last year, the committee has also decided to keep the same funding statement for 2027 and 2028 as well. The three-year funding statement is designed to provide consistency and predictability to assist organizations in longer-term planning, partnership development, and program innovation. By maintaining the same focus through 2028, we aim to give nonprofits the confidence and the time to cultivate some meaningful partnerships and collaborations and create some innovative, sustainable, impactful programming. Now, that's important to note while we are going to commit to having that same funding statement for 3 years. This will not be a 3-year grant award. The awards will still be for 1 year at a time. And if the organization wants to apply again for funding in subsequent years, they can do so. They just would need to submit another application. Also new this year, we have new application sections. They are outputs and outcomes and continuation request. More detail on outputs. We'll start out by defining what an output is and what we're looking for when we say outputs. Outputs are defined as a direct, tangible product or activity that results from your programming. They describe what you did and how many individuals you served. Examples of some outputs could be the number of workshops held, number of participants served, number of meals distributed, number of counseling sessions provided. Outcomes. Outcomes are the changes or the benefits that result from your program's activities. They describe what difference the program has made for participants, organizations, or the community. Examples of types of outcomes that you may see would be number of the participants with improved financial literacy, number of families with experience that experience increased food security, number of students with increased math proficiency, number of seniors reporting reduced feelings of isolation. So this is all going to be dependent upon the type of programming that you're doing, what your outputs and outcomes are, but hopefully by the examples that I've shown, you get an idea of what those differences are and what we mean when we say outputs and outcomes when we are talking about it in the application questions. Connecting outputs to outcomes. Outputs and outcomes are closely linked. Your outputs lead to your outcomes. So it is like a cause and effect change. The activities and the services that you're providing, that you're requesting funding, grant funding for, are to create the conditions for the change that occurs, which are your outcomes. For example, holding financial literacy workshops would be an output, which would which would lead to an outcome of participants increasing their budgeting skills and confidence in managing their money, and hopefully ultimately being self-sufficient economically. Um, when describing your program in your application, make sure that your outcomes clearly flow from your outputs. Show how your work makes a measurable difference for people and the community you serve. The other new section of the application is the continuation request section, and this new section of the application is intended only for organizations that are seeking repeat funding for a collaborative program project which was previously funded by the responsive grants in 2025. So if you are applying for the first time, you would not complete the section. If you received funding last year, but this year you're applying for a completely different program, and a different collaboration, different program or project, you would not complete this section either. You're only going to complete this section if you are going to apply for a second year of funding for the same programming that you were funded for last year. Another example of a situation of when you would not use this section would be if you applied last year, but you did not receive funding and you're applying again. Any questions about that before I move on? All right, move on to the next slide. Eligibility, the general eligibility remains the same as last year, and that is that the organization application, the applicant organizations need to be 501c3 nonprofits located in and serving Washington County, Maryland, and that there must be a collaboration. And applications must focus on a collaborative program or initiative involving at least two local nonprofit organizations. You can have more than two. Um, you can have as many as you want, but they would all need to be eligible entities. Collaboration. So let's go into a little more detail about the collaboration requirement, and what we are looking for there. A true partnership between nonprofits that will use the talents and resources of both entities to provide programming addressing critical needs. That's the ideal um, application that we're looking for. The nonprofits will both need to be actively participating in the program or the project and share the awarded funding. What we're not looking to fund, or what we don't consider checking off the box for having a eligible collaboration is agencies that have informal collaborations with other nonprofits but are applying for a grant that is solely going to fund their own operating or capital needs, and it's not going to be a joint project that they're working with another organization on. All applications must contain a letter of collaboration that contains the following elements: that identifies a lead applicant, and that applicant which will serve as a fiscal agent and a primary point of contact for the application and, if funded, the project. It also should describe the joint effort, and it needs to be signed by the board chairs of all collaborating agencies. Just, I want to make note here that the grant funds, if awarded, will be distributed to the lead applicant, and that entity will be responsible for signing the grant agreement and for all reporting. Funding priorities. In addition to the collaboration requirement, grant reviewers will be looking at how each applicant addresses the following priorities: urgency. Does the requested funding support programs, initiatives that meet or address an urgent community need? Innovation. Are they using new creative approaches to address identified issues? Impact. Does the programming have potential to make a significant impact on the issue being addressed? And ultimately, at the end, sustainability. Plans for program continuation post-grant award. As you review your application, you'll see there's questions that relate to each of these priorities. Take a look at the types of expenses that are eligible for funding. We will consider funding both operating and capital costs that are directly related to the proposed project and initiative. Reviewers will be looking for expenses that are reasonable and necessary for the program or project. This will include capital costs such as equipment or furnishings, as long as it is directly associated with the programming and necessary for the programming. We will not fund endowments or capital campaigns. Also, indirect costs are not allowable. An indirect cost is a cost that's not directly associated with the program or initiative and is often referred to as overhead costs. Examples of these would include facility costs for an administrative office, administrative and executive team functions that support multiple program areas, but are not directly related or tied to the project. Memorandums of understanding. Organizations are strongly encouraged to enter into MOUs to outline each organization's roles and responsibilities in the collaborative project. This is particularly important when considering a multi-year program or project. Now, we are not requiring this, and this is not something that we have a format for or something that we ask that you to give to us. But for your own benefit, it is something that you would, as partners getting together, it's a recommended and strongly encouraged practice to just take some time and to draw up an agreement where you outline who's going to be doing what, who's responsible for what, so that it can prevent any misunderstandings or issues between the organizations, especially, as I said, if there's going to be multiple years that you're going to be seeking funding for a project. While we don't have a recommended or necessary format, I'm quite certain, and I've seen that there are templates that you can find, and if you need help, reach out to our office. We could help you locate templates for MOUs that you could potentially look to using. The more details about the application itself, a single application should be submitted for each collaboration by the lead applicant. The lead applicant must provide the names and the contact information of all partner agencies. The lead applicant will also be the provider of the requested 501(c)(3) determination letter. We do not need you to attach the letters of the other partners, but they still are going to be required to have that determination. And we will be checking that on GuideStar, the IRS 501(c)(3) determination letter site. And we may, if we have issues with finding anything, we may ask for letters for agencies that we're not familiar with and we've not received that, done that due diligence on them in previous years. The lead applicant will also be responsible for the fiscal management and the grant reporting, as I had said, I think, a little bit earlier in the slideshow. And an organization can submit more than one application for different projects, but it still must have a collaborative partner. So you could potentially have an organization that partners with more than one other collaboration partner on different projects and have multiple applications. Last year, we developed a new format to promote consistency in what we receive for the budget by creating this new budget worksheet. We wanted to make sure that the reviewers get the information that they need when making a funding decision. In previous years, we had received a large variety of responses in this section, and often what was provided didn't answer all the questions that the reviewers had. And when grant reviewers have a lot of questions that are unanswered during their review process, it makes them less likely to be able to feel comfortable funding a project. So we developed this worksheet to make sure that no longer happens. So we're going to use that form again this year, the same one we used last year. It seemed like it worked very well and helped us to get more of what we were looking for in our budgets. Here, taking a look at a sample budget worksheet. Just want to go over it briefly for those of you who may not have used this before. As you can see on this first column, I have listed different types of line item expenses that you would typically see a nonprofit have in developing or putting out some sort of programming. We don't have every possible thing listed. That's why we have the nice other here, and there's a couple lines here. If you wanted to put right in your own there, you could do so. This first column here in blue, this is what comprises your grant request amount. So whatever you put on your application as your requested amount of money, that's what you're going to be putting in this blue column. You're going to be breaking it down into the various categories of what totals up to be your funding request. And then in the second column here, this is going to be funding provided by either the lead applicant or one of the other collaborative partners. This column, other funding, would be other grant funding that you have that is going towards this particular project. And then at the end here, this is our totals where you add up all these totals to show the total cost of the program. Please make sure to provide a budget description and justification for each of your line items. That's what the section over here is. As you can see, examples of what we're looking for here for the different types of line expenses. If funding is being requested for salaries or fringe, make sure to identify the positions being funded, what the hourly or annual rate of pay is, and how many hours are going to be attributed to this grant. Funding listed under funding provided by your applicant or partner should only include actual cash funding, not in-kind contributions. And then funding that you provide here and your other grant funding, that should only be grants that have been awarded or committed, not pending requests. Before you can complete your budget form, you're first going to be able to access it. So just to make sure everybody can easily do that, we wanted to give you some instructions here. The link to the form is provided in the program information section of the application, as well as in the area of the application where you complete your budget. To access the form, you're going to highlight the budget, the link, and right click, and then it'll take you to the Google Drive, or you can copy the link and paste it in your browser. Either way would work. The worksheet is read only, so you must download that onto your computer by clicking File, Download, and then Microsoft Excel. And then make sure to save the worksheet to your computer before you complete. And then once you have saved that to your computer and you have filled it in and have it to your liking, then you can then upload that completed worksheet to your application. We strongly recommend that you download this form as soon as possible. So when you're just going through the application, just go ahead and do this and save this to your computer so that you have it, just to make sure there aren't any technical issues that you may have with being able to access that form. Please do not wait till the last minute or the last day, because there's no guarantee that we'll be able to assist you in fixing whatever your problem is with being able to access that fund in that short of a period of time. So go ahead and do that, save that, and have that taken care of. And you can come back and fill it out whenever you really get into the detail of your application. Reporting. The grant performance period is for 1 year, and it's based upon the date that is going to be on the award letter that we would issue you if you do receive funds. A grant report will be required, and at the end of that period, or about 3/4 into the grant period actually, we'll email the point of contact listed on the application, the link for the report, and give you the due date for the report. As noted, this report will not be at the very end. It'll be about 3/4 of the way through the year. But we have to do that because we want to make sure that we have all the reports in during the time that we're seeking applications for the current year, to make sure that that we have information from the previous year's report, and also that everyone has been compliant with turning in a report that is seeking new funding again for the upcoming year. So don't worry if your project is not 100% complete while you're filling out that report. You can just explain that in that report, and we will then follow up at the end of the year if you have some more details that you need to report on that come in after the reporting date. One thing that is something that we've started just recently, we will be doing, in addition to the reporting, site visits to organizations who receive grant awards of $10,000 or greater. And we will schedule those during the fall. And if you do receive the award of 10,000 or greater, we will be reaching out to you in the late summer, early fall to schedule those visits. Some important dates to make note of. The big date that everyone always looks for when a grant application is released, the due date. The applications for responsive grant this year are due on January 14th. 2026 at 11:59 p.m. And then at mid to late March, award letters will be mailed out and also denial letters. And then we will be looking at April to have a check presentation ceremony for those that were awarded grant funds. And that information will be contained as far as the date when we send out the award letters to everyone. That concludes the training session, the workshop for this year's responsive grants. I thank everyone for participating and want to give everybody time to ask any questions that you may have. Sarah, do you see any questions in the chat?
I do not.
Okay.
I have a question.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Mimi.
Hi.
I actually have two questions. The first one is there a maximum amount that you can request for the grant?
We do not have a cap of a request or a floor, either one. Um, what I would do for any applicant, I would say look at the historical amount of awards that we've given in the last couple of years, and that kind of will give you your range of what is reasonable. We do have that located on our website, and I can send that out information out to anyone. I would say look at that. We are, you could, if you look at several years, we are trending towards with these collaboration requests that we're making a little more larger awards that are maybe between 10 and 30,000, that range. Whereas in previous years, it might have been 5,000, 5 to 10, or even less, depending. So that kind of gives you an idea. I always say if you are very new, if you're in a new organization or new to applying, the first time applicant, it's always best to not come in with a really large dollar amount on a request. It's good to kind of come in for something small and very easily achievable. That helps um, grant the grant reviewers maybe develop a relationship and understand your organization better. Um, Sarah, can you think of anything else as far as guidance on that?
No, I think that what you said is good. And if you go back and look at the historic stuff that we've done, that'll give you a better idea. But as Susan mentioned, we are moving towards giving larger amounts. So I would say anything. I would say don't ask for anything over 30 or 40,000. You could probably go up to the 50,000 range, depending on who you're partnering with, and what the program is. I mean, you can ask for anything. We can't tell, they might give a large, we don't know what they'll decide to do, but I would probably say around that 10,000 to 30, like Susan said. That's what I would go with.
And sometimes you will see like somebody could put in an application asking for like 40 or $50,000, but they may get an award of 30 or
Right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. That's really helpful. My second question is, could a nonprofit apply with the Washington County Public School District, or would it need to be another?
it needs to be a nonprofit.
Okay.
Yes.
So the WCPS Foundation, if you would want to do something with the school district or with the schools, I would recommend reaching out to
Yeah.
the WCPS Foundation, and then trying to work from there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
I love your presentation, by the way, and I love the slides.
Thank you.
They're really the
Got out to
colors.
a rough start.
No, the colors are really great. I love calming colors. So, but I'm Jason with Eliza's House, and we're a new nonprofit here in town, in our first year, and we are also a fiscal sponsor. But I wasn't for sure if that disqualifies that as a partner, if we're also fiscal sponsor for they're a nonprofit, but they just haven't gotten their status yet. But could that be considered a partner for a grant or no? Am I asking that right? I'm sorry.
So I just want to make sure I understand. Eliza's House has their own nonprofit. Okay. But
Correct.
it's a collaborative partner, potential partner does not yet because
Correct.
so they would not qualify as not as a partner because they don't have that nonprofit status. Now, if you found another nonprofit that you could partner with, you could still apply. It just that what you cannot count them as your partner.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get clarification
Mhm.
on that. So thanks.
Any other questions? Well, hopefully that means that we gave you a lot of information that you were looking for. Um, and what we will be posting this video on our website. We have a nonprofit resource section of our website, and we will post this on there shortly. And I will also send out the PowerPoint slides to everybody that was on this so that you can have them to refer to. And feel free to reach out to us if you're going through an application or thinking about applying and you have any questions as you go. We're there to help answer those questions. Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Nope. Good job, Susan. I think you
Thank
covered it
you.
all.
Like I said, it was a rough start. Technology, no matter what, no matter how prepared you are for it, it throws you a curveball sometimes. But I'm just glad to say my dog didn't start working, so I'm thankful for that. Have to go give her a treat. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and hopefully this messy weather will clear up and we'll get some sunny skies eventually again.
Take care. Thanks for attending.
Thank you. Take care.